All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully, you guys are getting this. It should be a little bit different setup. As you can tell, you're going to probably hear some birds in the background and everything. But we are actually at my lake house right now. Most of you, for those of you who like and subscribe to the channel, when you subscribe, you can normally see some of the questions that I put out there. So most of the time, it's pretty easy. What's your favorite Yucatan dish, or where are you going to go? What type of house would you like to purchase in Merida, Mexico if you decide to go down there? Is one of the ones that I recently posted. But the other thing that you can do is when I asked all of that was, hey, what day would you guys like me to stream? Well, I didn't really put anything out there, but I figured I had a little bit of time while my kids are in quiet time, taking some naps and stuff like that. I'm just going to set up at our lake house, which doesn't have the best internet as opposed to my normal studio, but hopefully it's got enough of a system, and this will also be a very similar system to what I have when we go to Merida, Mexico on the 20th, which I am ridiculously excited about. I'm excited to get there, be there again, and check on the progress of construction at our house. But this is the setup that I wanted to test, kind of get on here. And if any of you have questions, as always, please feel free to ask them. I can actually answer them live. And if you have something that I need to look up, boom, we can look it up right here. As you can see, I already have Merida, Mexico as the first thing there, but I can go back and forth between them. You might notice a little bit of a shakiness in the setup. That's because I'm on a table that's made of metal, and I think we've had this in our family for coming up on 30 years, but it's a nice little outdoor setup. You can probably hear the birds in the background, which to some of you may sound pleasant and to others may annoy. It depends on the bird. This one's a very sweet one. Before I went on, there was a very cawing, mean guy. So I'm just going to log real quick onto my stuff and make sure that if all of you are on here, normally it takes a few minutes for people to get on, but if you're on here, please feel free to ask any questions. I can either answer them to my experience if you want to know about what we've done in our experience, or if you want to know anything else, I'm happy to answer those questions. I just want to get on here, make sure that I am doing whatever I can to see those questions as they are asked. So there we go. But yeah, so I think I've talked about this place a couple of times. I've recorded one video here, but this is our lake home. We have a home on the Lake of the Ozarks. It's on about 28 acres, and this house was in horrible, just absolutely horrible condition when we purchased it. And luckily, we were able to kind of come in, get the price down, and purchase it. And then about, I don't know, 6 months after purchase, the entire thing flooded. They had used some really bad. I'm going to lean back here and see if I can make this shot look a little better so I can relax a bit. But they had used some pretty terrible Schedule 40 water line throughout the house, and they actually put one up into the attic and then to a spigot. Well, it gets, into the single digits and below here in Missouri, and one of those weekends was, I believe it was maybe around New Year's, and we had just sold our old home down here. We're coming down to kind of celebrate, and the entire house was completely flooded out. It happened on this side of the home, which is kind of the front lake facing side, and it's a 50 by 50 square, and it went all the way to the back of the kitchen into the driveway, and we took it down to studs, had to completely redo it. Luckily, we had protected ourselves and made sure that everything was okay. So it took about a year and a half to fully redo, and now it's one of my favorite places in the world to come down here to relax, to chill out, and yeah. So that's where I'm recording from today. Is our front porch, our front patio at our lake house. And in a week, hopefully, I will be able to do not on Saturday, so maybe a week and a half. Hopefully, I'll be able to do kind of the same thing, but at our place in Merida. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Alexander Howell. Please be able to like and subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to join, there's a little join button on the main channel, and that'll allow you to become a traveler or a voyager. And basically what that does is just kind of allows for this channel to grow a little bit better, get some more high quality content over to you, and kind of free up a few things on the side. So just hit join. If you want to do it, fantastic. If not, subscribing to this channel is a fantastic way to say thank you for the content. And obviously, I hope you guys enjoy all of it. But yeah, so we're down here just kind of chilling out. My kids are taking naps. I wanted to really test this setup out because I'm hoping that the microphone that I'm using now, which actually, let me go in. I'm going to check this out real quick because my only thought is if I don't have it on mono, which I learned, and I don't, I bet you're only going to hear half of it. Boom. All right. if you guys are watching this and the audio just changed, please let me know that it went through. Just type a comment and say sounds better now, and we'll go from there. Outside of that, I might have to shut it down and then come back on again, which I'm hoping to not have to do. That'd be awesome if you don't mind doing that. Sound is good. Thank you, Desmomoto. I appreciate it. He is taking care of me right now, making sure that the sound's awesome. Much, much, much appreciated. So yeah, so we're down here. We're going to be leaving for Mexico in 10 days on the 20th, coming in on a late flight. And the only thing I'm a little bit worried about is we've got the kids and their nap time is super early. I mean, it's super early. It's 8 o'clock. It's not like we're putting them down at 5 p.m. or anything like that. But that's really the only worry is like getting in super late, getting them like to the house. Luckily this time it's in Merida proper in Centro, and it's not all the way north to Progreso and then down to Guaymatoon like it was last time, where I think we got in sometime around 10:30 or 11 o'clock. So it should be a little bit easier going this time than it was last time. But you know, I for those of you who kind of pay attention to the channel, one of the things that we've talked about in several videos is right now they're on their orange alert for COVID, meaning that you still have to mask up. I think it is bars and cantinas are closed down, but restaurants are not. You can keep the mask off when you're at a restaurant at the table, have to put it back on when you leave. And the state of Missouri, and even my state of Missouri has been different, but Jackson County, where we live in Kansas City, it's been it's had a bit of a lockdown, but then a few weeks back they actually took the mask mandate away. And we've had some really good and really bad stuff there. Obviously, once you do that kind of thing, you're going to see a spike, as you would expect. But for the most part, like, everybody's still doing the right thing, social distancing and that kind of thing. In Merida, however, they still have it as mask mandate 100% of the time when you're outside. And that's not just outside in a closed space like a mall or a restaurant, but it is all the time. So we did this last time we went down, and it wasn't that big a deal. It really was a pretty simple thing to keep it on. I'll just be honest. When I have the beard going, my biggest issue is airports and airplanes, because you have to have it on 100% of the time, and it just gets itchy. But again, it's a mask. It's not a big deal. I'm just looking forward to getting down there, you know, seeing the same sights. It's going to be the exact same thing that we went through when it was in December. Just going to be a lot warmer. It was some pretty nice weather when it was in December, and now, man, not so much. I'm going to adjust the volume. It looks like I'm peaking just a bit here, so let me take that down. Yeah, so this is kind of the setup that we're hopefully going to have when we're in Merida. I had to have a little bit of light brought in. It's kind of making my face red on this side. But just kind of a little experimental thing, and it also allows me. I have a Vixia, a Canon HD Vixia HFR 700, kind of an old camcorder, but hopefully I'm going to be able to get some nice shots of the city for you guys, so that I can upload those and share the experience while I'm actually there, which I can't even describe. We're going to be there for about 3 weeks, get to see a few friends that I met from this channel. So if you want to grab a drink at some point, maybe reach out to me, alexanderhowell.com, go to the Contact Us page, and all that does is send me an email directly to me. It's not like you're signing up for some ridiculousness. It's just email directly to me, and boom, if you have any questions, we could talk. But the state of construction of our house is getting pretty interesting. So I've got the pictures on my phone. I don't have them uploaded to the computer yet, but what we have going on is like it's construction, but it's the destruction stage. It's taking all of the concrete out. But this was the first week that we got pictures back, and I was actually able to see progress. You can see that they're putting rebar up for the concrete for the master bedroom. They've taken away a huge chunk of the first part of the house that was the add-on part, and you can now see that they're digging out the pool. I was a little concerned at first because I was like, man, that pool doesn't look like what we were hoping for, but I think it's exactly what we want. Once they finish digging it all out, it's just a process. I mean, if you follow the channel, if you subscribe to the channel, you probably saw the picture that I posted about the cat in the kitchen. It was a big mechanical bobcat and like a John Deere, and it literally took up the entire kitchen. I don't know how they got it in. I'm sure I'm going to see when I get down there how they did it. But you could tell that really helped out, just getting rid of some of those walls. And honestly, some of the, as expected, as you would expect for a place like this, there was a lot of construction that just wasn't good from before that needed to come out. And, you know, very happy to be working with Henry Ponce. And somebody that actually knows what they're doing. And it's nice having a construction background in some ways because you can actually see that, okay, he knows what he's doing. He cleared out that part because of this. Now we're going to move on, and everything's going to be a lot stronger because of it. There's Moto. Which other parts of Mexico had you traveled before choosing Merida? So I had traveled to, let's see, Cancun and pretty much everything down Quintana Roo, and above that, traveled to Puerto Vallarta. We had obviously been to Merida, and that was pretty much it for me. I have to be honest with you. My wife had traveled a ton to the interior of Mexico. She went there for a semester in college and stayed with a family that had their, I can't remember if it was a lake house or an ocean house, but they had their main place and then a place that was about 2-3 hours away, similar to where I am right now for us in Kansas City. But that's kind of was her experience. So she was without question the number one person that fell in love with it. And I had, before I met her, I was 21 years old when we met, and she was 29. And before that, I'd never traveled out of the country. I didn't even have a passport. And the first place we went was Costa Rica. And I absolutely 100% fell in love, not just traveling internationally, but traveling, especially in Central America. And so traveling to Costa Rica was absolutely amazing. Then we went to Mexico several times. Then we went to Italy and went to Rome and then Tuscany and then Florence, which I know Florence isn't Tuscany, but we actually went into kind of like the hills of Tuscany, which was fantastic. But we kept coming back to Mexico, and we looked for a place last year. We went last February to March, right before COVID hit real bad. But we were looking for a place that we could kind of take a sabbatical and stay for about a month. And when we did that, it was a pretty interesting experience because we were looking all over the place. Like we knew we wanted to kind of stay in this hemisphere, but we were looking at Cartagena and Colombia. A friend of ours had traveled for a year all over the world, and she was just sending us suggestion after suggestion after suggestion, and we're like, we want to go to all of these places. I wanted to go to Scotland, wanted to go to Ireland. We wanted to go to Cartagena, wanted to go to Mexico, but we'd never, like she had heard of Merida. I honestly had not. And when it came up, it was one of those places that was like, well, what's an expat place? And Merida obviously came up. And so we started thinking about it. I was like, well, it's a really quick trip. It's a day trip on a plane to get there. Why don't we just do this? Why don't we just take this to Merida? And so we ended up choosing that, took a chance, and fell in love with it the moment that we got there. Whoa! I apologize, live on camera. I don't know if you could pick that up with the audio. I just had a giant branch fall off of one of my trees. Wow, that's the size of a small tree. I probably need to take that tree down, unfortunately. I apologize for that. I got completely distracted. Yeah, we have over this way, it's about a 2.5, 3 acre just giant area with trees. Here, let me see if I can turn you just for a second. If we can do this, if the camera will pick it up. So it's just kind of a park, and I don't know how far you can see down there, but I just witnessed a giant limb of a tree fall off. So hey, gotta love live on camera stuff. That's fun. But okay, so where were we? Sorry, that was weird. That normally doesn't happen when I'm just sitting here. Anyway, so yeah, that was kind of the whole thing. We took a sabbatical down, enjoyed the heck out of it. Our kids were down there with us. We rented a house, as opposed to what we're doing now. We rented a house on the beach, in a township called Wymatune, and just stayed there with family. So that was kind of the story about it. But we traveled down there, and I think I'd been down there 12 to 15 times prior to going there, but it was all kind of the tourist destinations more than anything. With Merida, it was kind of just the perfect location. I wouldn't want to say off the beaten path because it's a city with 1 million people, and Yucatan, the state, has over 2 million in it. But it was definitely a fun thing to do, and wouldn't ever take it back. And obviously, we got down there, and about 15 days later, we were buying this house. So we closed on it. We signed over power of attorney to our title company so that they could close on it and sign on the dotted line, and then we just wired them the money, and then we went back this past December, and now we're staying for another 3 weeks. So kids, the kids really like it. It's going to be interesting to stay there in August because we've been there for the most part in the winter and early spring. May is its hottest season, but from what I have been told by all of you, August is not that far behind. So, Robert, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for saying happy Saturday. I hope you're having a good one too. Did you send me a message at the number and I didn't get back to you yet? No, I got back to you. It was somebody else that sent it. Sorry. By the way, 816-727 7740 is the number if you guys want to text me, and if you have any questions or anything like that. I think I've had probably 40 to 50 people on this channel send me a message. Is it easy to rent a car in Mexico? So the answer is yes and no. When it comes to renting a car, we found a guy, and let me see. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm gonna look. I apologize if the camera shakes a bit here, but I'm gonna look up, go to my Facebook and copy his page. So when we were looking at renting a car initially, because we had to rent a car where we were because we were on the beach and there's nothing in between, couldn't take an Uber or anything like that. But for us, it was super easy because we got in contact with Yucatan. I don't want to say it wrong. I'm just gonna have to look up his name. But Robert Silveranos. Man, why can't I find that guy? Sorry, David Rivero Silveranos. And he has a company, Yucatan Tours and Travels. And I'm just going to copy and paste that link if you're in Merida or Yucatan, because he does a lot of stuff. But one of the things he does is coordinates. Whoa, that was not what I was looking to do. Let's see. Yucatan Tours and Travels.com. I'll just post that there. So David Rivero Soberanis, he runs like a tour company, but at the same time they rent out cars, and it's literally right across the parking lot at the airport, and the Merida airport isn't very difficult to get through. But his rental cars are easy because there's this thing where if you look up some of the cars, they have super low rates. But if you really get into it, they have a certain type of insurance, which then when you find the rental cars that sell it with the insurance, the prices just skyrocket. Well, he had all of that taken care of. We researched the heck out of it to make sure that it was the right situation. But he took care of us on that. And a lot of people have, said, well, your insurance should handle it. And I understand where people are coming from there. But from my experience, the insurance that some people have, it may cover, but it's international, so a lot of things don't. And again, it's one of those things like, number one, contact your insurance company. Maybe they do cover you. But from our experience, we were saying like not covered, not covered, not covered, not covered. When we were hooked up with David, we had all of the questions. He answered them every single time in about 5 seconds flat. Like, he was a very knowledgeable guy. So I would recommend him. But that's kind of the story. It's like, is it easy to rent a car? 100%. It's not difficult at all. Is it easy to find the right rental car service? I would say not as much. But hopefully, if you contact David, if you decide to go to Merida, I would contact him. He has been excellent to everyone that I've recommended to him. I saw him have one negative thing, but it seemed like a pretty easy thing to resolve. And I think there was just a communication issue. But that was the only negative I've heard. Outside of that, it has been positive, 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 positive. So, to answer your question in as long-winded of a way as I possibly can, yes, it's easy. Make sure that you do your research and find the right people, or contact him because he's going to be able to help you out. So, guys, I hope everything's sounding good on your side, looks good on your side. Again, this is a new setup, just chilling at the lake house for the weekend. The kids are taking naps, and my wife's doing a little bit of work as well. So I just figured, well, this is the setup that I'm hoping to bring down to Merida, so I might as well try to see if I can hook it all up and make it as mobile as possible. And from my angle, it's looking pretty good. So hopefully it's doing as well for you too. And David, by the way, if you're on Facebook, his name is David, D-A-V-I-D, Rivero, R-I-V-E-R-O, Soberanis, S-O-B-E-R-A-N-I-S. Look him up. He's a good dude, good person to know, and has pretty much answered every single question that we have about Merida. Also on Facebook, look up the YouTube group, look up the Facebook groups on Facebook for Yucatan expats and Yucatan travelers. And mine, of course, for those of you who have not subscribed to the channel yet and haven't watched any of these videos, is Travel, the number 2 Merida. So Travel to Merida, but with 2 in the numerical form, and it's just Facebook/group/travel to Merida, and we're at about I think 65, 6 somewhere in there people at this point. But the whole reason that I started it, as I've said a couple of times, is there were a couple of groups that I'm really afraid I had a wasp on me. Hold on. Sorry, there were a couple of groups that were a little bit catty about asking questions. The only thing I want out of this group is for people to feel comfortable coming into the Facebook group at Travel to Merida and asking any question they might have and people answering it. You kind of get to some of these groups and they get mad if the same person asks a bunch of questions all the time. It's like, yeah, you can use a search feature, or you could just be a nice person and ask a question and have it answered and give them more information than what they ask. Because if I tell you, if somebody says, hey, I want to go to a beach in Merida, where should I go? 1,500 people might have asked that question, but if I come to you and say, what kind of beach do you like? And you say, small town, kind of away from everything, then I'm not going to probably recommend Progresso. I'm going to recommend Telchac Puerto. And I think we're actually going to stay we're going to have a little day trip to Telchac, because they've got these really cool places where you can just pay a fee for a day and kind of get on their little campus and their beach and everything. And I think we're going to do that for a day in Telchac, so I'm pretty excited about that. Progresso has them. They're kind of all along that highway that runs the beach. And I'm going to air quotes highway, road, as it were. But they've got a few places like that where you can pay the fee, get in, drinks, food. I assume some are a little bit more, some are a little bit less, but excellent places to look at if you just want a day on the beach, but you're staying in the beautiful colonial town of Merida. So, and again, guys, feel free to ask any questions that you might have. I don't want to keep monologuing if you guys have stuff to ask. I can only see it when it comes up on the YouTube live chat. So, and also follow along with that. But man, we're gonna be there for 3 weeks. I think this is really cool. We've got my niece and her boyfriend coming down the first week that we're there, and they spent not a semester. They spent a summer in Spain and Italy 2 years ago, I think. I think he was in Italy, she was in Spain. Fantastic. We wanted them to go. That was really fun for them to be able to do that. And so they've got the travel bug too. So they're really excited to come down to Merida and just explore the city. They got to do it a little bit the last time we all came down, but just not that much. So hopefully they're going to be able to come down, have a great time. And then after that, my parents are coming down, which will be awesome because we've traveled with them all over the world at this point, which is a very cool statement to be able to say. And then after that, we have some friends, and then my wife's parents are coming down that last week. So we are going to be busy. We're going to have a lot of people down there, but it's going to be absolutely awesome. And just honestly, it sounds, I think it can kind of sometimes come off braggy, and I don't mean it to, but it's really cool to be able to show people like, here's going to be, the place that we're building. And the reason that I say that is we're building this house not just for like us and the kids. We're building it in such a way that our families and our friends can come down and stay, and they can kind of have their own place. And for those of you who want to, on social media, you can always find me at Alexander from KC. So at Alexander from KC, like Kansas City. And if you follow me on Instagram, which is kind of the big thing that I'm on. I don't know why I had to say I 3 times, but that is what it is. But if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see a bunch of pictures. But if you look back from a couple of months ago, you will see several pictures of our home in Merida, what it's going to look like, some of the 3D renderings and stuff like that. And then you'll also see some pictures, I believe I have them up there, of the deconstruction effort that we have. If not, I'll send them later. Maybe I'll put them on later, kind of the most updated ones. But it's a really cool thing to be able to see like the way that we're building it. But getting back to it, we're building it so that the kind of the main floor and the back of the property are, kind of where myself and our kids are going to be. The upstairs is built kind of as its own separate apartment. So if my parents or my wife's parents or her family comes down, or my family comes down and says, we want to stay there, they've got their own kitchen if they want to make, kind of want to have an evening to themselves. If they want to have their own morning and have breakfast, basically if they want to have a little separate time, because as most of you know who travel, when you travel together a lot, it can kind of wear on you. You can travel with your best friend in the world, but your best friend in the world sleeping in, the same place, getting up at the same time can be a bit of a pain in the booty. And so even after 6, 7 days of having your best friend there, sometimes you'll need some time apart. And that's what this will allow us to do, is to be able to have our family, have our friends down. They have their own separate place up top, and we're all chill. So I'm really excited to be able to like show our family, show our friends, this is what we're building and here's why. And please feel free to come down anytime because we'd love to have you. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to live down there full time yet. We're still I've said this a couple of times on the videos, but for the most part, when I look at this, if it was just my wife and I, sans kids, we would probably be down there already, house sold in the city and be in Mexico, and then come back in the summertime to our wonderful home at the Lake of the Ozarks. But because we have kids, it's so much easier to have them in the city for a couple of reasons. Right now, schools, it's just easy to have the school district. We're in a great school district in the Kansas City area, so that's easy. We've got great teachers and that kind of thing. And then on top of that, and this is really the biggest one, we are very close to our family. We have great friends. But we are incredibly, incredibly close to our family. In fact, where we are here, not far from here, my parents actually have a home that they've had, a long story, but off and on since the early 70s. But we see my parents all the time. We see her parents a lot. We see her family a lot. We see the other parts of my family a lot. And to be able to have our kids have that is an incredible thing, to be able to grow up and see your grandparents all the time. I think that's very, very important. If we move away full time right now, I would worry about that a lot. I think that would be a lot to take on, to take them away from that situation. So even though we look at it as, yeah, if it was just us, we're gone. It's tough to say, well, we're just going to go down to Merida and that's it. When the kids are coming too. Do we want to? Yeah, at times, yes, 100%. There's no doubt about it. Every time we go down there, I never want to come back. However, that is kind of the tough thing, especially with school starting and that kind of thing. It's just we have a very we are incredibly fortunate. We are incredibly blessed, but that is one of the things that we go back and forth about all the time. Robert, I'm coming back to Merida on the 20th. We're staying till I can't remember what our takeoff date is, but we're coming down the 20th, and we're going to be there for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So I'm really excited. I'm like chomping at the bit at this point to get down there. So we've got my son is turning 6 tomorrow, so we got a little party planned for him, and then we're a few days after that we're going to head to Merida, and they're both really excited about it too. So I don't know why I worry about it, honestly. Every single time we bring up Mexico, they get super excited. I asked my son a couple of days ago, I was like, what happens in 5 days? He was like, we go to Mexico. It's like, no, it's your birthday. Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to Mexico, right? Like, that was kind of the conversation. That was very cool. And guys, just to let you know a little bit here, we have at the lake no cell signal, no fiber internet, no DSL, no nothing. The reason I'm able to stream is because we have a new type of internet that is basically a cell signal that runs to our house. And so if you see a delay, if you see a little bit of latency, if the camera shakes a bit or something like that, you can blame it on that for sure. It's the easiest thing to blame it on. Or if the camera quality just isn't perfect, that's why. So that's why I keep shifting back and forth between everything. Mama Dragon, how's it going? And thank you so much for saying happy birthday. I'll let him know you said that. That's fantastic. Thank you. He's super excited. He is totally into Pokemon right now, and that has to do with his dad. I really wanted him to get into something. He's super smart, so he's already reading these like chapter 100+ page books right now. But I wanted to get into something that could, feed the. He wants, all of his friends have some type of gaming system, even at 5 and 6. I know. But I wanted him to read and have something that would kind of test him a bit. And so he got into Pokemon, and it's like that took care of everything because they have books and action figures and the card game and the video game. So I have a Switch, a Nintendo Switch, and he just basically stole it from me, and now he plays that when he does good stuff. So my wife and I just got back for 3 weeks in Cancun. Congratulations. Are you sad that you're back from Cancun? Because I would be. I know it's hot down there right now, but it's hot up here too, and Mexico is amazing. I'm super jealous, but not as, because I'm going to Merida. So no delay, awesome. Man, I hope I'm saying this right. Desmomoto, thank you so much for being on top of the questions that I have. That is fantastic to know. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I think I said it already, Mama Dragon, but I will absolutely tell my son that you told him happy birthday. That's really cool. Thank you so much for that. I can hear, I don't, you probably can't see behind me, but just past these trees back here is the Lake of the Ozarks, and probably can see it a bit through the trees, but I am hearing boats going by like crazy. So if you hear something in the background outside of bugs and birds, that's what it is. I've got to tell you one of my favorite things about being online and YouTube, and I had an account on Twitch that I don't really game. I play Zelda Ocarina of Time, and that's pretty much it. Just an old game, and so I don't really do something that would really interact well with Twitch. But I was so happy to see when YouTube started having live streams and stuff like that, because one of my favorite things to do is I love making the videos, but I really enjoy interacting with the people that watch them and subscribe to the channel. So I hope this is beneficial in some way, shape, or form. At least, if nothing else, we get to kind of sit around the coffee table and have a conversation about how everything's going. And I get to monologue all the time, and I can talk my butt off, so I'm good to go. But so we're going to Merida. One thing that I do want to do, and this is probably going to happen more when we live down there as opposed to when we just go down there for these trips, whether it's at our house or like we're doing now, Airbnb another house. But one of the things that I'm really hoping to do and to get into is when we live down there, taking, I think it's the first class ADO bus to Cancun and back, just to like have a long weekend, get an all inclusive for a couple of days, and then drive back, because I'm really excited to get on these ADO buses. I know that sounds ridiculous. Like, who wants to get on a bus for a 3 hour drive or 4 hour drive? But from what I hear, it's amazing. Like, air conditioned, TVs in every seat. I am super excited to do that. And it sounds ridiculous. It's like somebody talking about going on vacation and saying they're really excited about the plane ride. But, you know, I like planes too. It is what it is. Give me 1 second here. Oh, not a big deal. So one of the people that text me, 816-727-7740, one of the people that texted me the other day was talking about how they were from San Francisco. It was Lisa, and we got into a conversation. I know this is totally off the rails for what we were talking about before, but we got into a conversation, and she's in San Francisco. She's a huge Niners fan, and I was telling her a story about the fact that, and she was happy that we got Alex Smith. And I was like, I was happy too. And I was an idiot because I wasn't excited when we drafted Patrick Mahomes. And that's why I'm not a coach in the NFL or any part of the NFL, because I didn't see what that guy could do. Neither did the Bears. Anyway, but we were talking about it, and one of the things that I told her was my family was getting phone calls like to our house, like on the actual landline, when I was 4 or 5 years old, when the trade for Joe Montana that the Chiefs did came through, because I was such a huge Joe Montana fan and everybody knew it. That, like, I was a huge Chiefs fan, but I loved Joe Montana. So I'd have like a Kansas City Chiefs shirt and 49ers pants. I didn't care about the team. I cared about Joe Montana. And when they traded for him and got him, people were literally calling us our house nonstop, talking, like, basically saying, like, did Alex just will this? Does he have some demonic ability that we don't know about? And it's kind of cool. But again, like we were talking about, like I was talking about monologuing about live streaming a bit ago, that's one of my favorite things about having access to this platform, is that interacting with all of you guys and stuff like that. Yeah, we might talk about one thing or another here and there, but at the same time, we actually can have human interactions and talk about something that's a little bit off the cuff. So, like I said, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be able to do this. It's about 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. I assume that my kids are getting close to waking up. But if you guys have any questions, ask them again. And I'm not trying to throw it out there, but if you do have anything once I go offline, feel free to visit me on social media. Alexander from KC, AlexanderFromKC, and that's pretty much me on everything. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Twitch, but those really aren't my main thing. Instagram is without question kind of where I am. And like and subscribe to the channel too if you haven't already. That lets you know anytime that I live stream or one of these videos goes live. I always stay in the video as a premiere so that if you guys have questions throughout, I can always answer them. It's pretty easy and kind of cool, and it's the same thing as the stream setup here. So only if you want to, but also if you hit the little notification bell, that lets you know the moment that it goes live too. So you get a push notification on your phone, and boom. But yeah, this is one of my favorite parts about this is just being able to talk to you guys. So again, if you have any questions, ask. Easy. I'm gonna look over here real quick. Give me 1 second. I go back and forth in renovation pictures between Merida houses and school buses on my news feed. I am 100% obsessed with schoolies. And for those of you who don't know, it's people who take old school buses and they convert them into RVs. And one a day, I will have one. 100% will have one. I'm a dragon. What's up? Living in different cultures. So especially for the kids. 100% agree, Mom Dragon. I did this on one of my last videos. I'm going to look it up so I don't mess it up. But you will probably appreciate this. One of my favorite quotes ever is a quote by Mark Twain, who, by the way, from Missouri, so obviously he's awesome. But I completely agree with you. For kids, it's absolutely amazing, and I think it is for people too. And when we started traveling, and when my wife, if I can talk, when my wife brought this up, I was obsessed with this idea because the first trip we took to Costa Rica literally opened my eyes. And when I saw this quote by Mark Twain, I fell in love with it because I completely, totally, 100% agree. But here's the quote for those of you who don't know it. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. It's a good quote. And basically all it's saying is, don't be a jerk, honestly. But it's just saying, like, once you travel, you kind of understand these things. You understand what is happening throughout the rest of the world. And I say it in a different way on a podcast that I have with a buddy of mine. When you travel, you realize something. And it's that, especially if you're somebody that takes in a lot of news, like especially 24-hour cable news or something like that. When you travel, you recognize that you don't hate people that are from a different place. You don't. You might hate their government. You might hate the weather. And you might hate individuals, but you don't hate the people. People are good. They're just like you. They're just in a different part of the world. And that's something that I've recognized like crazy traveling. So I think I'm being called. All right, guys. I think this is it for it. I think I just got the little tap on the window that the kids are up. So for those of you who are on here, Desmomoto, Mama Dragon, Robert Vargas, all of you guys, thank you so much for commenting. Anybody who's watching this later, please feel free to comment. Also, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the join button if you'd like to become a traveler or a voyager. Follow me on social media at Alexander from KC. And if you have a question, seriously, 816-727-7740. Text me. That text me directly. I'll answer the questions. If it takes a bit to get back, it's because I have 2 kids and a job, and it's crazy around here, but I will get back to you. I promise you that. I've never not responded. So thank you all for being a part of this amazing stream. Sorry it was so short, but you guys said you wanted Saturday, and boom, I got you on Saturday. Have a great time, and as always, peace. Thanks, guys. I'm going to hit the stop streaming button, and it's going to end abruptly. So, bye.